So just while I'm on a roll venting about this and thinking about it, I figured I'd make that video about what I think some of my triggers and hidden issues could be. Because again, I've been trying to learn from this book. I've been watching YouTube videos, TikToks, reading up about it to try and get ahead of this because I know it's so hard right now to get a counselor. But also, sadly, with the way the world works, sometimes as a female, you need to come in with a lot of heavy evidence to get the care you need. And you don't want them to just write you off as oh, you're faking it, you're doing it for attention, it's anxiety, here's some medication. Don't get me wrong, I'm on medication for binge eating. I don't want anyone telling me that it's just anxiety, especially like that, because anxiety is a huge, huge issue. So I know that I fit into the whole category of binge eating. I'm the definition, basically. There's a few things that I don't fit, depending on your definition, but for the most part, I am right there in that box. And I need to remind myself. I've even made like a little list for myself that I can be like, remember when you're feeling invalidated, this is the problems you've had. These are the questions they would ask, and they match up perfectly. So now let's talk about triggers. And before I start, I want to say I had a happy childhood, legitimately happy childhood. My parents are really cool, really good people, but they're also human beings and mistakes have been made along the way. So let's talk about all the many things that could start somebody down the road of binge eating and that could have started me down this horrible situation. The first one's genetics. Which I don't know, like, it's hard to ask parents and grandparents if they've had problems with binge eating before because they don't always know about mental health issues. I know that my mom has had mental health issues. I know my cousin and my aunt have had mental health issues. I know that my dad has had mental health issues. And I know that my dad used to solve his mental health issues by not eating. He would restrict his eating and lose a lot of weight. But I also don't know how situational all of those were, right? Like my dad's was when he split with my mom, he stopped eating for a while because he's caring for a child all by himself and he just didn't have a lot of money. And he was sad. So that's more situational. I don't know if that's actual mental health for him because he would never admit it being a farmer raised by boomers and some of the older generation. So it's hard to talk about still with my family. And then part of my family are the thinnest people you'll ever meet. They are small, gorgeous, genetically tiny. And you'd even call them like underweight. People have called them anorexic, different things like that. They're not. They're just naturally genetically thin. And great for them. They're healthy and everything like that. But I don't fully know if they've ever had eating disorders because it's hard to talk to them about it too. We're not that tight. Also because being raised by who my dad was, he just didn't talk a lot about emotions. An emotion was something like you could talk about it if you wanted to, but he didn't have advice for you. So if you had an emotion, you should go to your friends, or you should handle it yourself. Or for my case, you should take it out on a punching bag at Taekwondo. Or you can vent. Venting's fine. Getting mad is fine. He understands those. But he never understood crying or getting like super upset about something. It's too much emotion for him. He's not an emotional guy. Which I understand. That's just who he is as a human, and it may not have benefited me in the long term because there's a good chance now that I still don't handle my emotions well. For instance, like when we go to a funeral, half our family sits beside us. They're bawling their eyes out, and we're like stoically cannot cry. And I've always felt like when I'm with my family, I'm like, am I broken? Why am I not crying? But I'm sad, don't get me wrong. And I feel emotion and I might cry in private, but I don't cry in public. So some of that emotional stunting could be why I turned to eating. Because instead of showing my emotions or voicing my emotions, I'm going to eat my emotions instead. Leading me to number 2, nobody taught me how to handle stress at all. Stress is a fact of life. Stress means that you're going to be successful. Stress means that you're going to do well in university. Stress means that you have good jobs and you should be thankful to have jobs. Nobody teaches you how to handle stress. So I have no idea how to handle stress. Like I said, when I was in university, I had 3 jobs trying to do university, still a cheerleader when I was in university, trying to save up for future dreams, pay some of my bills and stuff. Like, it's a stressful time, and no one's there to help you with that. Even, and I can say, like, my university would say they were great with it. They weren't. Like, you didn't talk about this stuff. Health was not at the forefront of the university. So there's that. Another trigger that I might have now that I'm thinking back on it, when I was really little and I would go to my mom's almost every other weekend, sometimes she would leave me with a babysitter because she has to work. You know, she's a single mom too, and she's trying to raise. She had 3 kids. When we were all out there, she had to pay for us, and she always tried to save money so she could buy like my clothing or take me to get my hair done or whatever. But there would be days where the person she left us with wouldn't feed us. And I knew how to use the microwave, I knew how to open certain things out of the fridge, but they would leave me with things that I could cook myself. Alphagettis, Ichiban, Chef Boyardee, macaroni and cheese when I got a little older and I could make it on the stove, hot dogs, my own little chubby pops, which, yeah, that's all the stuff that I binge eat today. So that's cool. So there's that fact. And then when I went to high school, my dad started this new thing about not wasting food. And it's a life skill he was trying to teach me, in that, like, if you're going to waste food and not eat the healthy food I bring into the house, I'm not going to buy you food. My response, because at the time I was working 2 jobs, I was like, don't buy food. I'll go to the cafeteria. I'll buy my food at the mall. Whatever. And then I just ate junk food all the time. Unless he was like making dinner. And by no means, like, if I would have went to him and like, I'm hungry, we would have went and got food. If I went grocery shopping with him and told him what I wanted, he would have bought me food. But he was trying to teach me to eat the food that you buy. A great lesson that may have very well backfired and made me feel like I can't eat that, or that I don't want to eat that, or I don't have to eat that because I am independent. The other parts of that, I would say, like, I wish instead that we had both just learned how to cook together, but I was so picky. I hated everything, and things today that I found out I've loved. Just recently found out I like kale. That's a great thing to know. So yeah, there could be that. And these are all just bad habits as well that I've picked up over years and years that I turned into a lifestyle. And it's hard to change your lifestyle along with having the mental illness that goes along with your habits and your terrible lifestyle. Another trigger that I definitely notice is, I remember a distinct time in my life when my mom, my grandma, all the ladies in my life would talk about how skinny I was. You're so thin, you're so tall, you're so skinny. Oh, you're so bony. And then one day that just stopped. And it was like, I never noticed being called all that stuff before, but I certainly noticed when I stopped being called that, but other females in the house were still called that. So, you're like, oh, I used to be skinny, but now cousin over there is skinny and thin and getting all these compliments, and it's not like it transferred and turned into other compliments. It just abruptly stopped. So I feel like this weird idea that we have to be thin, we have to fit a certain size, that all came up. But what's also kind of weird is I always hear people talk about, like, if you're in a sport or an activity that focuses on body image, it can negatively impact your eating. Well, I was in taekwondo and baseball and cheerleading, and none of those negatively impacted my body image. In fact, they all made me feel very strong, very unique, like I was very capable. Like the worst that would happen is I didn't really know how to do my hair, so I would ask one of them to help me. I didn't know how to do my makeup, one of them would help me. But I was never worried about my body or my body image when I was in those sports. And I think I'm really lucky because I could definitely see where, especially cheerleading, could make you hate your body. But I just never cared, never said anything. None of the girls ever said anything negative to me. So I had a great group of friends there, and I'm very grateful for that. Um, but then, of course, I started to lose weight on one of the diets I was doing, and everybody noticed and gave me compliments. And again, it's kind of reverse of what happened when I was a kid. When everybody starts giving you compliments, you're like, oh, shit, there was something I needed to fix, which kind of sucks. Whereas there's certain people now, I'll eat around them, I totally trust them, they're my confidants in the family, because when I started to drastically lose weight, um, they were like, you didn't need to lose it. You're beautiful. Like, it's good that you are if you want to. And those are the people today. I'm like, I'll eat in front of them. I don't care. I don't feel like I binge eat in front of them, but I just eat normal and I feel healthier around them. So I guess finding the people that are best for my relationships. And I never voice this to the rest of my family. Like, my dad doesn't know how much our conversation when he wanted me to lose weight affected me. I don't think he knows how much not feeding me during high school and like not teaching me how to cook affected me. I don't think my grandmother and my mom know how much they've affected me. And maybe one day I'll bring it up, but we'll see. I have other triggers of like loneliness and boredom, which are huge ones. I love to be busy. So as soon as I get downtime, I eat. And I think part of that, like I've talked about before, when I was going sport to sport to sport or job to job to job, you eat when you have downtime because you're not going to be able to eat the rest of the day. And that was true then, it's not true now. Like I get a lunch break during work and I can eat whenever I want. But there's this feeling like the food's not going to be there. So those are some of my triggers that I would love to have a counselor for. So I'm going to do some research tonight and try and find myself one, especially if the other guy doesn't call me back. But yeah, just to validate, like, if you have a binge eating disorder, it's not all about the food. So don't diet, don't limit yourself, don't completely focus on the food. There's something else happening, something else in your life has caused some of these issues.